Что?
This is Leonid Grazer, who is currently facing charges for murder in a Moscow court in Russia. The 18-year-old teenager confessed to the murder of his 21-year-old sister, Ariada Korol, after he was detained for 2 months. Korol was found naked with multiple stab wounds in the hallway of an apartment block where she shared a flat with her brother. The Russian teen claimed that Satan made him kill his sister. According to the report, Grazer undressed after killing Korol and drew demonic symbols with his sister's blood before the police arrived. During questioning, Grazer didn't show any sign of remorse, but instead, he responded with smiles.
Зачем так с сестрой расправились?
Так было надо. Я делал то, что должен был.
Grazer confidently asserted that he killed his sister to get rid of his doubt.
Он что должен? Зарезать ее и убить? Или как?
Нет, избавиться от сомнений.
От каких сомнений?
В себе.
The police found drugs in the teen's house, which could also be the cause of Grazer's actions. However, the 18-year-old claimed he was aware of his actions.
Зачем вы так с ней расправились?
Потому что я должен. Себе должен. Я должен так себе. Я осознанно это сделал.
In Sherbinski District Court in Moscow, Grazer was camped in a glass cage to prevent him from trying anything funny, but the teen had other plans.
Не лезь, не надо.
Куда ты лезешь? Сел.
Grazer's first attempt didn't work out as planned, but he was quick to find an alternative route.
Слышь, что говорю?
Я сказал, что
The teen managed to force himself through the roof of the glass cage and proceeded to struggle through the ceilings of the courtroom.
Что?
The officers with him took prompt action to stop the defendant and struggled with him.
Да, смотрите! Снимите!
Спасибо тебе.
Держите!
Eventually, more officers arrived at the scene and tasered the 18-year-old teen.
Свет, Саня! Лезьте туда! Давай,
Помогите! Помогите мне! Помогите мне!
Поможем.
Помогите мне! Дайте мне руку! Дайте руку! Дайте руку! Дайте мне руку! Пускайте, говорю!
Возьми, бля.
Куда нажать? Дайте руку!
Сейчас, я тебе дам руку. Да.
Блядь, меня...
Спусти.
Finally, Grazer gave up and pleaded with the officers to let him down.
Ко мне, бля.
А, все!
Сука,
Все, я спускаюсь!
я тебе дам сейчас.
Я спускаюсь! Быстро, блядь! А где он залазит?
Да он сверху пролез через это.
Ты что,
Это видно, на
дурак?
Открывайте, зайдите в клетку, блядь. Потом опять вот здесь держите, вот здесь. На вход. Ходи сюда. Ходи сюда. Все. Ходи сюда, одевай. Штаны одевай. Да, так.
After the failed attempt, the officers cuffed Grazer to prevent him from executing other plans he might have. In 2020, a judge sentenced Grazer to mandatory psychiatric medical treatment, and his punishment was reviewed every 6 months during his medical examination. Grazer's attempt to escape through the ceiling was a failure, but what happens when a suspect jumps from the second floor of the courthouse? And this takes us to the Meigs County Courthouse. This is Rashad Hawkins, who is facing trial for failure to pay child support. After Hawkins was sentenced, he was not willing to serve the jail time, so he found his way out of the courtroom before he could be detained. The convict took off to jump from the second floor and landed in the reception of the building. Hawkins got up quickly and ran out through the exit. A few moments later, court officials and deputies were all over the building and wondered what exactly was going on. Little did they know that a convict was on the run and would be nowhere to be found for a couple of weeks. On May 30th, 2021, 3 weeks after the escape, Hawkins was caught trespassing on a residential backyard in Harrodsburg. Just like he managed to escape in court, he struggled with the officers of the Harrodsburg Police Department before he was eventually apprehended. The officers later discovered that Hawkins was wanted in Tennessee after he was arrested. In addition to his charges in Tennessee, he was charged with third-degree criminal trespassing, first-degree evading police on foot, third-degree assault on a police officer, resisting arrest, and possession of drug paraphernalia. Hawkins' escape left deputies wandering around the court hallway, but what happens when a deputy breaks his ribs in pursuit of a convict? Just like the case of 34-year-old Nicholas Garrison, who was just sentenced to 6 months in jail for possession of meth charge in Greenfield, Ohio. After getting the sentence, the bailiffs were set to put Garrison in handcuffs at the back of the Highland County Courthouse before the 34-year-old made a smart move. As one of the bailiffs detaining Garrison turned away for a moment, he decided to take the easy way out. Garrison took off and ran through the courtroom all the way to the exit. The door leads to a set of stairs, so immediately Garrison bursts out of the courtroom. He finds his way down the stairs. The bailiff after him dived headfirst over the stair rail as he tried to grab the running convict, but Garrison managed to slip away. Garrison was able to get outside of the courthouse and went into hiding for days. 4 days later, the sheriffs received tips which led them to a motel in Clinton County. The 34-year-old was found at the hotel and taken into custody. He got additional charges of 1 count of escape, a third-degree felony, and 1 count of assault on a peace officer. Garrison was sentenced to an additional 6 years in prison in the same courtroom. As for the bailiff who tried to stop Garrison, he broke 4 ribs and suffered a minor concussion when he landed on the stairs. While Garrison might have fled from the courtroom due to fear of serving his jail time, the defendant in the next case slipped away from the deputy before entering the courthouse. This is Joel Sanchez Delgado, who was escorted in a wheelchair to the Pulaski County Courthouse in Little Rock, Arkansas. 41-year-old Delgado is facing charges of burglary and possession of firearms. The convict reportedly told the police that he was injured and could not move his legs, which explains why he is being transported in a wheelchair.
Fake illness or fake injury, that was most likely what happened.
As Delgado was being wheeled into the courthouse, he distracted the deputy by complaining that he had lost his shoe.
What'd you say, OJ? My shoe. Hey, you see a shoe back there? Where is it?
As the officer bent down to help him with his shoe, Delgado did the unexpected. Delgado, who claimed he couldn't walk with his legs, jumped out of the wheelchair and made a run for it. The officer engaged in a foot pursuit after the 41-year-old, but he seems to have gone far.
Oh, I'm gonna catch you, baby. I'm finna shoot your bitch ass.
During the pursuit, the deputy couldn't call for backups because he had no radio on him. He had to find an alternative.
Hey, can you call the police for me? Call the police for me. Hey, call the police. Call the police. What way it go? Hey, Hook. The wheelchair dude got up and ran. Yeah. I couldn't catch his ass. And my radio was in the mother. I had my camera on though. He jumped the rail. It's on my camera, bro. Oh, what's that, man?
Unfortunately, the deputy was unable to catch up with him. Delgado was eventually caught 7 miles away from the court several hours later. He claimed he had an injury again and he couldn't walk. Delgado was taken away in an ambulance and was charged with felony escape in addition to his previous charges. It took the efforts of several deputies to apprehend Delgado, but what happens when a judge has to pursue evading defendants? Just like the case of Tanner Jacobson and Cody Howard, who are currently in court for driving on suspended licenses. The two defendants were handcuffed and dressed in prison uniforms, waiting for their sentences. As Judge Buzzard was about to read their sentence, Jacobson and Howard did what left everyone in disbelief. The two inmates bolted out of the courtroom with their handcuffs. However, Judge Buzzard also took immediate action and went after them. While the two were on the run outside the courtroom, Howard slipped and fell due to his uncomfortable shoes. The district judge followed Howard and Jacobson down the multiple flights of stairs toward the emergency exit. However, only one of the two was able to make it outside the court. Just when Howard was about to find his way through the door, the judge caught up with him. Jacobson made it outside, but he stopped a few blocks away and surrendered to the police.
I only get like 4 blocks and then I stopped. I just stopped on my own. I'm like, what am I doing right now?
One would think the two already had the escape plan before entering the court, but their confession during an interview says otherwise.
It was just a split second, decision. I don't even know why I did it. I would be out of here if I wouldn't have ran.
I didn't try to escape to get out. I tried to escape to get well, and I tried to do what I could, do what I could do to get my drug addiction.
The two inmates were initially sentenced to 30 days in jail, however. Their escape earned them a longer time in jail. Jacobson was sentenced to 1 year and 1 day in prison for additional charges of a single count of second-degree escape. Howard's, on the other hand, was sentenced to 36.75 months behind bars on the charges of second-degree escape, first-degree trafficking and stolen property, and third-degree theft.
On May 26, 2017, Jeremy Christian harassed 2 teenage girls. When 3 men intervened, Christian attacked them with a knife, causing the deaths of 2 individuals and severely injuring another person. Christian was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of attempted first-degree murder, and several counts of assault and intimidation.
Yes, Judge, my name is Greg Scholl, 9544039 from the Metropolitan.
Free speech or die, Portland. You got no safe place. This is America. Get out if you don't like free speech.
He shows up to court for his arraignment and starts causing a scene immediately. The trial began in January 2020 in Multnomah County Circuit Court. As the victim, Demetria Hester, was giving her statement at his sentencing, Mr. Christian loses it and starts threatening her before getting kicked out of the courtroom.
In my case, the white supremacist got special treatment from the police officer Gaskin, believe the assault was made by the assailant. He didn't believe me or the two TriMet supervisors. The police captured, not killed, a racist white supremacist known to the police. Holding the bloody knife, he attacked and killed people with while drinking wine from his Gatorade bottle. And to Mr. Jeremy Christian, your mom should have swallowed you. You are a waste of breath. And when you die and go to hell, I hope you rot.
See you there. You ain't gonna be mayor either. You ain't gonna be mayor either. The whole city. George Floyd. George Floyd. I should have. I should have. Everybody knows you're a liar. Everybody knows you're a liar, huh?
In February 2020, the jury found Jeremy Christian guilty on all counts, including 2 counts of first-degree murder, attempted murder, and assault. Christian was sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, plus over 50 years, ensuring he would spend the rest of his life in prison. But this next case wasn't any better. On April 13, 2014, Miller opened fire outside the Jewish Community Center of Greater Kansas City and the Village Shalom Retirement Community. He killed 3 people: 14-year-old Reet Underwood, his grandfather William Corporon, and Terry Lamano.
For the Jews, who rule every one of them through money. The United States government is required by the Constitution that they're sworn to uphold to protect each state from invasion. There's 20,000 illegal aliens who crossed our borders illegally, breaking our laws, by the hundreds of thousands, some case millions. There's no law, they didn't pass a law against criticizing us, white people, or black people, or Native Americans, or any other people, just the Jews. It's called the Global Anti-Semitism Act of 2004. He's got a slam dunk. Let's face it, y'all gonna put me on death row, everybody knows that. He got all that, but he's not satisfied.
Mr. Miller?
He wants to stop me from...
Miller shouted anti-Semitic statements during the attacks, though none of his victims were Jewish. He used the United States Constitution to excuse the actions he took, showing no remorse at all.
The state must prove my criminal intent. I submit that I had no criminal intent. I had a patriotic intent to stop the genocide against my people. This genocide is as obvious as the words diversity, the melting pot, and changing demographics. That's what it means. That's white genocide. I also have the right to explain to you jurors, you juror members, my frame of mind on April 13, 2014, the day of the shooting. For what was in my head that aroused so much anger and intense dislikes. Anger that enraged a 73-year-old married father of 6, retired United States Army Master Sergeant on pension, who lived a good and happy family life on our farm in Missouri. What the hell caused me to commit such a bloody, deadly act? You've got a right to know that, and you got a right to know all of it.
Miller, representing himself, admitted to the shootings but pleaded not guilty, arguing his actions were meant to protect the white race.
I find from the review of the entirety of the evidence presented in this trial that the jury's verdict should be and is affirmed. And for your conviction for capital murder, you will be transported to the Kansas Department of Corrections to carry out the sentence of death by lethal injection as provided by Kansas law.
One day, my spirit will rise from my grave, and you all know that I was right.
On September 2015, the jury found Frazier Glenn Miller guilty on all charges, including capital murder and first-degree murder. Miller was sentenced to death by lethal injection. The judge also sentenced him to 69 additional years for other crimes related to the shooting spree. The cycle of racially motivated violence continued nearly 7 years later. On May 14, 2022, Peyton Gendron, a white supremacist, drove over 200 miles to a predominantly black neighborhood in Buffalo, New York. He opened fire at the Tops Friendly Markets grocery store, killing 10 people and injuring 3 others. Most of the victims were black. Gendron live-streamed the attack and left behind a manifesto expressing his racist and anti-Semitic beliefs.
I want to acknowledge that today is what I can only imagine. One of many solemn days in the lives of the survivors and the family members of those who died. Their words are heart-wrenching. Their loss unimaginable. Only those who have lived it can truly understand their anguish. For the devastation that he caused, Peyton Gendron will be sentenced to spend the rest of his life in prison with no possibility of ever being released. Our client committed these terrible crimes. He is responsible for his actions. And he will be held accountable. And he will suffer the consequences for what he did. This case highlights, however, a much deeper problem. This young man's violent, hate-fueled assault was in part the product of centuries of pervasive racism and discrimination in this country. These problems need to be addressed, just as many others have publicly demanded since this terrible event took place. Unfortunately, neither this proceeding nor any criminal trial can expose or address the historical racism that set the stage for our client's horrible acts. We, as a community, need to have those conversations in our legislative bodies and in our living rooms to achieve meaningful change. We know that some of the families and their lawyers have asked for the information collected by law enforcement during their investigations of this crime. We support that request. We hope the resolution of this case brings the day for that information to be shared closer. The racist hate that motivated this crime was spread through online platforms. And the violence that was made possible was in part due to the easy access of assault weapons. Still, our client is responsible for this crime. He will spend the rest of his life locked away, and eventually he will die in state prison. We hope that knowing he will never be free again will offer some small bit of comfort to those that he hurt so much.
Victims' families had the opportunity to confront the man who shattered their lives.
And my dad was Andre McNeil. He went to that store to get a cake for my little brother because May 14th is his birthday, my little brother's birthday. And he turned 3 years old, and he didn't get to celebrate his birthday with his dad because he never came back. So, I was told to write an impact statement. First, I was being selfish, and I said I wasn't gonna do it, but then I remember I wasn't doing it for this selfish coward, or the courts, or the press, but I was doing it for my dad, my best friend, who was snatched from this world because of something he couldn't change, the color of his skin.
Do I hate you? No. Do I want to hurt you? Yes. And trust me and believe, these dudes can't stop me, really. I'm the littlest thing in here, very agile, but I don't want to hurt you. And I got 9 children, 10 children I got to go home to. Andre had 5. And they can't even see him anymore. And my nephew, my 3-year-old nephew, every day, he's calling for his father. And he can't? And he's not coming? You know how bad that hurts?
A grieving family member tried to handle things on their own.
That ain't fair to shit. You gonna come to our city and decide you don't like black people. Man, you don't know a damn thing about black people. We're human. We like our kids to go to good schools. We love our kids. We never go in those neighborhoods and take people out. Don't do it.
The family member who tried to act on their own was quickly removed from the courtroom. After all the testimonies, the shooter finally spoke up.
I'm very sorry for all the pain I forced the victims and their families to suffer through. I'm very sorry for stealing the lives of your loved ones. I cannot express how much I regret all the decisions I made leading up to my actions on May 14th. I did a terrible thing that day. I shot and killed people because they were black. Looking back now, I can't believe I actually did it. I believed what I read online and acted out of hate. I know I can't take it back, but I wish I could.
In November 2022, Gendron pleaded guilty to state charges, including murder, hate-motivated domestic terrorism, and other related charges. Gendron admitted to his crimes and expressed remorse during the trial.
There is no place for you or your ignorant, hateful, and evil ideologies in a civilized society. There can be no mercy for you, no understanding, no second chances. The damage you have caused is too great, and the people you have hurt are too valuable to this community. You will never see the light of day as a free man ever again. It is the judgment of this court for your conviction under the first count of the indictment, a domestic act of terrorism motivated by hate in the first degree, an A1 felony, that you be sentenced to life imprisonment without parole.
Gendron was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the state charges. Gendron's case underscores the deadly impact of hate, similar to the actions of Russell Courtier in Oregon. On August 10, 2016, Russell Courtier, a member of a white supremacist gang called European Kindred, and his girlfriend Colleen Hunt encountered 19-year-old Larnell Bruce Jr., a black teenager, outside a 7-Eleven store in Gresham, Oregon. An altercation ensued, during which Bruce attempted to flee. Courtier and Hunt chased him in their Jeep, ultimately running him over. Bruce died from his injuries a few days later. The prosecution argued that Courtier's actions were racially motivated and stemmed from his affiliation with a white supremacist gang.
Before midnight, on a summer night in August, 2.5 years ago, Mr. Courtier got into a Jeep owned by his fiancée, Colleen Hunt, to drive, along with her, to a 7-Eleven store about a half mile from where she lived. It was an old Jeep. It didn't run very well. It had a soft top and soft plastic windows that didn't offer much in the way of protection. But there was no need to worry about it. Again, they were just going to 7-Eleven, a half mile from where she lived. What neither Mr. Courtier nor Ms. Hunt knew that night as they drove toward the 7-Eleven was that there waiting at the store was a group of people who were about to set in motion a series of events with catastrophic consequences. What this case is going to turn on, what was in Mr. Courtier's mind? What were his thoughts? What were his intentions? What were his fears? How calmly and rationally was he able to make decisions and understand everything going on around him in that extremely threatening, traumatic...
The defense did not deny that Courtier ran over Bruce, but argued that it was not premeditated murder. They claimed that the incident was not racially motivated and that Courtier did not intend to kill Bruce.
You didn't just ruin my life, but you ruined your own. You have a son, and now he has to live the rest of his life without his father. I think what you did was, it was bigger than us. That ideology that you have, it's not good for anybody. You didn't just make us suffer. You have your own family suffering as well. Your son now has to grow up and put this all inside his head and try to figure out, and hopefully he doesn't make and think the same way that you do. This world it doesn't belong to any of us. We're just here visiting. and everyone has a right to be here.
I would like to start off saying that I started raising my son at the same age that he died, 19 years old. From the minute that he was put in my arms, he never left my sight. He was the mama's boy, attached to the hip, doing everything with me, from cooking to cleaning, the yard work, everything that none of the other kids wanted to do. I like to tell a story that's one of my favorite stories about Bubba. When he was 3, I would complain to my husband about the light not being fixed. And as husbands do, he procrastinated on fixing it. I woke up in the morning and man had taken every light switch off with a screwdriver at 3 years old and handed me the screws and told me that he fixed it.
The family of the victim take the stance in court speaking about the whole situation.
We, the jury, find the defendant as to count 1, murder, guilty. And so the jurors did not answer the other questions related to count 1. On count 2, we, the jury, find the defendant as to count 2, failure to perform the duties of a driver, guilty. And we, the jury, find the defendant as to count 3, intimidation in the 2nd degree, guilty.
On March 19, 2019, Russell Courtier was found guilty of murder, second-degree intimidation, and failure to perform the duties of a driver. Courtier was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 28 years.
This is 49-year-old Arthur Booth, who is facing burglary charges. Booth was arrested in Hialeah, Florida, after he was spotted leaving a burglary scene. During a bond hearing, Arthur Booth appeared before Judge Glazer to plead his case. He's being charged with burglary, grand theft, fleeing the police, and resisting arrest. After explaining the details of his bond, the judge noticed that Booth's face looked familiar.
F15-13303. Okay, Mr. Booth, I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go to Nautilus for middle school?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
I'm sorry to see you there. I always wondered what happened to you, sir.
Oh my goodness.
Judge Glazer and Arthur Booth attended the same middle school. It was an emotional moment in the courtroom as the judge went on to say more about the man in his dock.
This is the nicest kid in middle school.
Oh my goodness.
He was the best kid in middle school. I used to play football with him, all the kids, and look what has happened. I'm so sorry.
Oh my goodness.
Mr. Booth, I hope you were able to change your ways. Good luck to you.
Oh my goodness.
What's sad is how old we've become.
Oh my goodness.
Good luck to you, sir. I hope you're able to come out of this okay and just lead a lawful life.
After the brief reunion, the judge set Booth's bond at $43,000. The courtroom footage went viral, making it one of the most viewed courtroom moments.
You got to take care of your family, try and get a job, stay clean. You're going to do something good for somebody else. That's what you got to do.
But something unexpected happened. 9 years later, Arthur Booth was once again in Judge Glazer's chamber on a string of burglary charges. In one incident, Booth was accused of snatching a woman's Gucci chain from her neck. In other instances, Booth would pose as a maintenance worker to get into people's homes, rob them, and flee the scene. When appearing before his middle school judge classmate, Arthur Booth was so ashamed to look at his old friend.
Do you like this? Anyway, I can't hear your case, so I'm going to get another judge to hear it, okay? So if you have a seat, somebody else will be here. Hope things work out for you better.
This was not the only time a convict cried bitterly during their sentencing. Take, for example, the case of Daniel Villegas, who was just declared a free man after spending close to 2 decades behind bars for a crime he knew nothing about.
In the District Court of El Paso County, Texas, 409th Judicial District, verdict form B. We, the jury, find the defendant Daniel Villegas not guilty of...
In 1993, 16-year-old Daniel Villegas was charged with the death of 17-year-old Armando Mondo Lazo and 18-year-old Bobby England. Even though the police found no DNA or forensic evidence connecting him to the crime, they arrested his acquaintances and subjected them to manipulative interrogations. But that was just the beginning. They eventually forced Villegas to sign a confession they had typed out for him, admitting he committed the crime. In October 2018, Villegas got a chance to appeal his case. After a deliberation that lasted 2 days, the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals found Villegas innocent and overturned his conviction. Daniel Villegas' emotional reaction to the freedom verdict after spending 18 years behind bars would become one of the most viewed court moments.
In the District Court of El Paso County, Texas, 409th Judicial District, verdict form B. We, the jury, find the defendant Daniel Villegas not guilty of...
It was such an emotional moment that the families and friends of Daniel Villegas couldn't control their tears in the courtroom.
And is it a unanimous? Does anybody wish to have the jury polled? There has been a request that the jury be polled so that I can ensure that it is your individual verdicts.
In the courtroom was Daniel Villegas' daughter, who wore a top to show solidarity for her dad. His wife could not hold back tears as the judge thanked the jury for ensuring an innocent man got freedom.
On behalf of the state of Texas, on behalf of the attorneys for the accused, on behalf of the accused, on behalf of my staff, but most importantly, on behalf of your system of justice, thank you for admirably carrying out your civic duty to this great country. You are excused from further jury service. For those who are there, I will be back there shortly.
All right.
After declaring the jury's verdict, the judge declared Daniel Villegas a free man.
Mr. Villegas, you have been under many conditions in this court. You are no longer under any conditions in this court. You are free to leave. Thank you. Good luck to you, sir.
Daniel Villegas gave the entire courtroom a moment to remember. This next convict did the same, but in a more crazy way.
Have the ability to pay restitution.
This is Manson Bryant, who was at the Lake County Court for aggravated assault and kidnapping charges. On July 10, 2018, Bryant, along with 2 other males, invaded a Painesville home where they stole approximately $800. A gold nugget of ink, a phone, and a MacBook. During the court session, Bryant showed remorse and asked to be allowed to make something meaningful out of his life.
Last time before this time that I had him, I put him in prison for 4 years for a robbery. He acted out briefly on his way out of the courtroom, and I just let it go.
I'm thankful for the opportunity and afforded by the day in court, and I respect the decisions that the juries have made. I alone have the power to end the cycle of incarceration, and all I ask is for you to give me an opportunity to still make something out of my life, sir.
Manson Bryant, the law allows you to say whatever it is you want me to consider before I sentence you. Is there anything you want me to know?
Yes, sir. Your Honor, I know you're very well aware of my history. I made a lifetime of bad decisions. And those bad decisions has caused pain to a lot of people in my family. For that, I am truly sorry. Most of my bad decisions have been driven by my addiction to drugs and to do whatever I can to continue to get high. My ability to stay clean has me to spend most of my life in prison. There's no way for a person to live. That's no way for a person to live. And it's not how I want to finish my life.
However, the judge was not moved as he lashed out his verdict.
And therefore, the order of serving your prison time would be PRC time first, followed by the gun spec on count 1, followed by the gun spec on count 3, followed by count 1, followed by count 2, for a total of 22 years with credit for 231 days. The court determines that you have or will have the ability to pay restitution.
Judge Eugene Lucci was still giving the verdict when Manson Bryant suddenly erupted.
Ability to pay restitution.
Courtroom, man. You racist. You racist. Nigga, 22 years. You ain't nigga, Danny Sturgeon, Lisa Sturgeon told me about that bullshit.
Actually, remember when I said you had some remorse?
You never gave me probation.
Wait a minute.
You never gave me a chance.
When I said that you had a certain amount of remorse, I was mistaken. The court determines maximum imprisonment is needed.
As expected, the judge added some icing to Bryant's sentence for his outburst.
Court determines that the defendant has shown no remorse whatsoever. I was giving him remorse, a certain amount of remorse in mitigation of the sentence. The defendant has shown me that he has no remorse whatsoever, and therefore the court determines that maximum imprisonment is needed.
The judge added 6 more years to Bryant's sentence, making it a total of 22 years behind bars. If you think this is the only time a convict displayed fake remorse to get a lesser sentence, this next case will leave you shocked. This is Dylan Shoemaker, a 17-year-old accused of murder charges. In March 2013, Dylan Shoemaker killed his girlfriend's 24-month-old baby because he wouldn't stop crying. Dylan was asked to babysit Austin Smith, a 24-month-old baby, while his girlfriend worked her shift at a restaurant. When the baby couldn't stop crying, Dylan slapped and slammed the poor kid on the floor multiple times. As he walked into the courtroom, Dylan broke down in tears, suggesting that he regretted his actions.
I can't take back what was done. I wish I could. I would give my life for Austin. I didn't mean to kill Austin. Actually, I really didn't. I really think I did that. I didn't mean to hurt him.
Before the judge gave his verdict, a representative from the victim's family approached the dock to make a statement.
This did not have to happen. He had numerous opportunities to get help, to ask for help. He chose not to. I just ask that you take into consideration our family's feelings and what we've lost and what can never be replaced. We'll never get our Austin back.
Dylan Shoemaker's lawyer fought for the minimum sentence, which was 15 years imprisonment. He argued that the incident could be a result of Dylan being inexperienced with babysitting.
Smith was completely defenseless. That's a given. But there were other dynamics at work there, including my client's inability to either control his anger or frustration and his inexperience in babysitting.
When Dylan Shoemaker got the chance to address the court, these were his words.
As you can see in my school records, I was trying to change my life around. In 2013, I was doing so much better. This completely turned my life. I can't take back what was done. I wish I could. I would give my life for Austin. I loved him a lot. Him and Christopher were half the reason I was even staying with Ashley. I felt bad for them kids because they didn't have a place to stay. I thought Christopher was mine, and he wasn't. I was trying to do something that my father never did for me, and be there. Ashley, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your son. And you know I didn't mean to hurt you. You just can't accept that, because you know me. You've known me for 5 years. I never would have wanted to hurt Austin.
Even though Dylan gave a heartfelt speech, the judge saw through his crocodile tears and fake remorse.
That you are a manipulator and you try to deceive. The record will show that you admitted that on July 23rd, 2013, in a phone call to your mother from the holding center, you stated, and I got a quote from the court reporter, "I am a 16-year-old blonde. Probably all I have to do is cry in front of the jury and they're going to feel sorry for me," end quote. That statement speaks volumes to me.
Dylan Shoemaker was sentenced to 25 years imprisonment and is currently serving his sentence in Clinton Correctional Facility.
Upon your conviction for the crime of murder in the second degree, that you be sentenced to an indeterminate term of imprisonment which will have a maximum of life, the court hereby imposes a minimum sentence of 25 years.
Dylan will be eligible for parole in 2031. Just like Dylan Shoemaker, this next convict blew any chance for leniency. This is Levon Turrentine, a 21-year-old facing murder charges. Back in April 2010, Turrentine was involved in a heartbreaking car accident that claimed the life of an 8-year-old African boy. It all started when he was teaching 18-year-old Brianna Hightower to drive. But things took a devastating turn when, for reasons still unclear, Turrentine took control of the car from Brianna and tragically struck the boy again as he crossed the road. Neither Turrentine nor Brianna were licensed drivers at the time. He was later released on bail, but today he's back in court for possession of marijuana while driving the same car without license. When the judge saw that the person he set free last time was in his dock for a similar charge, he lost it.
I told you you were not supposed to drive. So what it tells me is one bad decision after the another. You didn't learn anything. You violated the law again by driving the same car that you already killed somebody with. You were not supposed to be behind that wheel.
It's not like I was joyriding or anything, Your Honor. I just went to the Chinese place to get me and my kids something to eat.
Did I release you on bail to say that it was on the condition you don't joyride?
This is Melissa Hardwick, who is in court for domestic abuse charges. Melissa's ex-husband, John Anderson, had filed a domestic assault complaint against the 41-year-old.
Your statements in your petition as part of your testimony, but I need you to tell me briefly, in your own words, what happened to cause you to ask for a domestic violence order.
Yes, Your Honor. Things have been escalating, I guess, since the first of the year, and Melissa's had a couple MIWs and a couple arrests, and she got out of jail in, I guess, April, and she started, we hadn't really had anything personal up until that point. She got out of jail in April.
The mother of 3 faces charges including third-degree terroristic threatening, intimidating a participant in the legal process, and resisting arrest. During the court proceeding, Melissa repeatedly denied her estranged husband the opportunity to speak as she kept on interrupting. After warning her repeatedly, Judge Jennifer Edwards decided to take bold action to put her in check.
My personal life is none of your business, John. It has nothing to do with
Miss
you
Hardwick,
boys. No.
you will be held in contempt of this court if you become disruptive.
I don't care. I haven't done anything to this court. I haven't done anything to him.
She will be arrested for contempt of the court.
It doesn't make any difference.
You will serve 10 days for contempt of court. Go now.
Get off of me!
Luckily, security officers quickly responded to the situation. They restrained her before she could get to the bench and maintained order.
Wait and see. Get my bracelet off the floor.
A new judge will have to be appointed to represent because she will be charged criminally for the threats that were made in open court today.
Melissa was sentenced to 120 days in jail for contempt of court. Her bond was set at $25,000. Mr. Anderson, on the other hand, got what he wanted. He was granted an emergency protection order that will replace the no contact order. In this next case, a man spat on a judge during a pretrial hearing. This is Bass Webb, who is appearing in court for a pretrial hearing on murder charges. In 2009, Bass Webb murdered his ex-girlfriend, Bria, and left her in a Kentucky home with her 2 young daughters. Later that Friday, Bass Webb is seen on surveillance camera attempting to run over 2 jail employees outside the Bourbon County Jail, where he once served 3 months on assault charges. The 32-year-old is facing 2 counts of attempted murder. During his first pretrial court hearing, Judge Dixon recused herself from the case because she knew the 2 jail employees he tried to kill with his car. But this didn't go down well with Webb. What he did next was shocking. The action clearly takes aback the judge.
What did you say? Yeah. That be yes?
Yes.
There's no way I want to try this case or have any further proceedings, or I'll have to see you for one further second. Set preliminary hearing for next week.
After dismissing Webb, she makes sure that Webb stands and watches as she wipes the spit off her face.
Keep him right here. Keep him right here.
After this incident, Webb was later charged with the first-degree murder of his 2 ex-girlfriends, with additional charges of third-degree assault and harassment, and first-degree PFO, persistent felony offender. At last, handed 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole, ensuring he would spend the rest of his life in prison. While the Bass Webb case shocked many with his courtroom outburst, it's not the only time emotions boiled over during a trial. Another infamous example is the trial of Bryce Rhodes. This is Bryce Rhodes, a man in court for a string of murder charges. Rhodes is accused of shooting and killing a 40-year-old man called Christopher Jones. Following that, he allegedly killed 2 brothers, Larry Ordway and Maurice Gordon, fearing they might inform the police of his role in Jones's death. During the court proceedings, Rhodes repeatedly disrespected multiple judges. In one of his earlier trials, Rhodes accused a judge of being racist and other heavy allegations.
Do you think this is the best time?
Even though you show favoritism to the Commonwealth, you denied every motion I've ever filed in this courtroom, I'm still gonna, it's my right to file a pro se motion, and it's my right to speak what I need to speak on.
Well,
I don't know if y'all got some type of sexual relationship going on, or what y'all got going on, but I'm definitely gonna speak my mind.
Detective Tatelli and I have no sexual relationship.
Now I'm talking about you and a prosecutor over there, sir.
All right,
you denied all my motions.
In another court proceeding, Bryce Rhodes spat on his attorney and had this outburst when the man decided to stop representing him.
Nice cheap shot. You a coward. Nice cheap shot. You a coward.
As a result, Bryce Rhodes appeared at his next court appearance in a spit mask and restraints. Yet Rhodes still tried to get himself into trouble.
Mr. Rhodes, you can just bring him up right here.
Why y'all have me come out like this for?
I think you know why.
What?
You know exactly why. Now, listen, stop talking. Have been.
Oh my God.
Are you done?
No, I ain't done.
You've been charged in the 4th degree. I'm going to keep talking because I don't want to have to see you back here for this.
What you think where you live at? What you think at? None of that. I ain't do.
So you're saying you're going to find out where I'm out?
None of that. You got family, I'll be out.
After this outburst, the court added 2 additional charges of terroristic threatening and intimidating a participant in the legal process to Rhodes' triple murder charges. But this was not enough to stop Rhodes from being a menace to judges. In another trial, he lashed out at a judge who tried to talk him out of changing his attorney the 3rd time.
Your job is to do your job, not to worry about me. That's what I'm saying. Well, I worry about me. You worry about yourself.
At the end of the court session, he had some chilling parting words for the judge.
You're gonna find out, though. You're gonna find out real quick. Promise it. Promise it.
Just like Bryce Rhodes, this next inmate had no respect for the judge and did not even hide it. This is Michael Gaines, who is facing a Kansas court for battery of a law enforcement officer.
Look at me.
It's like eating. You ain't gotta scream at me. You gonna raise your voice at me?
Oh my God.
You raise your voice to me, I raise my voice to you. You just in a row.
Gaines was already serving time for robbery at the Sedgwick County Jail. During a scuffle at the jail clinic, Gaines, who happened to be an HIV patient, deliberately spat at the jail officers. During the court proceeding, he erupted in front of the judge.
All the evidence shows that you deliberately.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I know
The
you
words
did.
were that you deliberately were hawking up.
Bullshit. I didn't hawk up no saliva, okay? That's bullshit, and you're gonna believe those lies. That's what I'm talking about. I didn't hawk up no saliva. You gonna believe a lie, because they wearing uniform.
But this wasn't the end of it. Sensing some form of injustice against him, Gaines went on a rant and revealed some secret wrongdoings of the jail officers.
It's like they beat
Well, you
Richards.
seem like such a nice guy.
They beat
I mean,
Richards.
I do see
And
why.
did they beat Richards in February? That wrote, oh, and you don't know who Richards is, huh? February 15th, that rogue ass Diaz beat the man, fractured his jaw, put him in the hospital on life support. You remember that? He's doing such a good job, isn't he? Diaz, wearing a uniform, right? Rogue ass deputy.
The judge, sensing the commotion stirring in the courtroom, decided to call the accused to order. This further infuriated Mr. Gaines.
Look at me.
It's like eating. You ain't gotta scream at me.
You
gonna raise your voice at me?
Oh my God.
You raise your voice to me, I raise my voice to you. You just in a row.
The prosecution counsel tried to make the best use of the situation to prove he was right. But Gaines had some words for him too.
I appreciate Mr. Gaines making my point for me.
You punk.
Very well received.
Maggot mother.
And I don't think I have to take insults from
I know. You. You's a. You's a.
He's a tough guy now.
You's a.
But I think
You's a. You'll be a.
Gaines was whisked out of the courtroom on the judge's order and was later sentenced to 13 years in prison via a televised hearing afterward.
I'm talking. Courtroom. Take out of the courtroom.
You's a maggot.
Yeah, you're a tough guy.
You's a maggot. You should have died when you was a baby.
Yeah.
Maggot.
Anytime, Mr. Gaines.
Shut up, punk. You's a maggot. You should have died when you was a baby, stillborn.
In this next case, a judge agreed to a fist fight with a public defender.
This is an emergency
if I
created
had
by
a
the
rock,
state.
I would throw it at you right now.
You know, this is
Stop pissing me off. Just sit down. I'll take care of it. I don't need your help.
No,
Sit
you know
down.
what? I'm the public defender. I have a right to be here, and I have a right to stand
I
and
said
represent
sit
my
down.
clients.
If you want to fight, let's go out back and I'll just beat
Let's go
your
out
ass.
This is Judge John Murphy, a judge of the Bravada County Court in Florida. In June 2014, the judge asked a public defender, Andrew Weinstock, to waive his right to a speedy trial. However, the lawyer had other plans, one that would anger the judge.
Public defender, what do you want to do? Well, it's going to expire before I can get them in. So,
Not my emergency.
Question. You want to set it for trial?
You can set it for trial if you want to set it for trial instead. I'm not waiving. That's if the question is, am I waiving? The answer is, I'm not waiving.
Just say it.
Okay, I'm not waiving.
I don't care.
I don't care either. I'm not waiving.
just needed to set it for a date.
Well, normally we go to docket zoning after that. If you want to go to trial, we'll set it for trial. That's fine.
All right, speedy trial. That is June 9th at 8:30. All right, that's a mandatory court date for you. You don't want to be late that day. If you haven't talked to your lawyer, you need to get it done, right?
Even as Judge Murphy moved to the next case on his docket, Weinstock continued to fight for his client's right. Then this happened.
You're Mr. Runkles?
Yes, sir.
2 charges, assault and resisting. You have the public defender. Public defender, what do you want to do?
Have they filed?
They have.
I'm not waiving.
All right, what do you want to do?
What do you want to do? I'm not waiving. If you want to set it for trial, set it for trial.
All right.
If you want to set it for docket zoning, set it for docket zoning. I'm not waiving in any case. This is an emergency
if I
created
had
by
a
the
rock,
state.
I would throw it at you right now.
You know, this is
Stop pissing me off. Just sit down. I'll take care of it. I don't need your help.
No,
Sit
you know
down.
what? I'm the public defender. I have a right to be here, and I have a right to stand
I
and
said
represent
sit
my
down.
clients.
At this point, the tension was at its peak. What happened next was one of the most shocking things to ever happen in a courtroom.
If you want to fight, let's go out back and I'll just beat
Let's go
your
out
ass.
While there were no witnesses to the alleged fistfight, the microphone picked up some of the altercation. Shortly afterwards, Judge John Murphy, who happened to be a former U.S. Army colonel, returned to the courtroom. In 2015, the Florida Supreme Court ruled that Murphy was not fit to serve as a judge any longer. This is Tobias Sampson Roman, who is in court for armed robbery-related charges. In January 2012, Tobias was arrested by the police after attempting to rob a kiosk worker at Bakersfield Valley Mall. According to the police, the 27-year-old threatened to kill his 19-year-old victim while brandishing a knife. During Tobias's first court appearance, he told a different story, but also gave the judge a tough time.
Roman, stand up.
My foot hurts. I can't stand up right now.
Yeah.
My right hand. Giggling.
Stand up, Roman.
Yeah, Ross, what?
This is BF 140416. Mr. Roman, what is your true and correct name?
Tobias, my first name. That's it. Giggles or Tobias. That's it. Don't call me nothing else.
Sampson Roman is present in the courthouse. Is Yasmin Medina present? She is not. At this time, I will appoint the public defender to represent Mr. Roman. The charges, Mr. Roman, are attempted robbery, second degree. Hey, Mr. Roman, you need to be quiet.
Yeah, you need to be quiet.
You got one more chance, and then you're going to be removed from the courtroom. And that'll be your choice.
Just don't talk. Go ahead.
All right. You need to leave.
See? I'm gonna murder you when I see you.
At his arraignment, Roman interrupted Judge Charles R. Bremer, claiming the accusations were all lies. The judge warned him to stop speaking, but Roman responded by telling the judge to be quiet, forcing the judge to order him out of the courtroom. As the deputies whisked Roman out of court, he had some words for the judge.
See? I'm gonna murder you when I see you.
I'd like to note for the record, Mr. Roman's statement on the record that he will murder me if he sees me, and I'm going to request law enforcement take the appropriate action. He's charged with threatening with the intent to terrorize, exhibiting a deadly weapon other than a firearm, and stalking. He's chosen to remove himself and voluntarily absent himself from the court proceedings in light of his behavior. Would you like to make a record? I'm appointing the public defender.
Tobias's lawyer went on to plead not guilty on behalf of his client.
On behalf of Mr. Tobias Roman, I acknowledge receipt of the felony complaint, waive further reading of the complaint, waive further advisal of statutory and constitutional rights, enter not guilty pleas as to all counts, make a motion for it to continue in discovery, and ask the preliminary hearing to be set within the statutory period.
Pre-preliminary hearing set February 16th, 2012 at 9 o'clock. Preliminary hearing set February 17th, 2012 at 8:30 on the PX calendar.
Bail set in the amount of $82,500, which is scheduled, and the defendant is ordered to appear on those dates, times, and locations. In addition, I have reviewed the probable cause declaration in regard to 136.2 criminal protective order. My intent, and I'll hear from counsel, would be to impose this order. And is there any objection?
Your Honor, I have no objection at this time.
I will impose the order. We'll make sure Mr. Roman is in receipt of a copy before he's taken from the courthouse. And he is prohibited from any contact with the alleged victim, must stay away 500 yards, turn in any...
This is Michael Ray, who is in court for criminal charges. Ray is being charged with terroristic threatening and second-degree assault, among other charges. Everything was going quite well, and the 36-year-old was cooperating with the judge until he heard the bond price.
Ray, cases 87 and 88. The county's requesting $25,000 full cash behind all charges. Looks like the Allen.
You think that's funny?
I think that's hilarious.
Your Honor, I think.
All right, so bond is $50,000. No bail credit. He's lucky I didn't hold him in contempt. Yeah. Thinks these are funny charges.
As if flipping off the judge was not enough, Michael Ray's last words to the judge made matters worse.
I'll bring him in. I'm holding him in contempt. Adding charges. Sir, I'm holding you in contempt for what you did.
What's the holding me in?
And so.
You're just making it worse, man.
You, shut up. You are
All right, you can take him back. 100 days to serve.
100 days
I don't
to serve?
care.
Okay.
Yep.
For what? Because of 2 EPOs and a criminal mission case?
He's done.
See you outside of the prison, but I'm gonna smack you.
Your Honor, I think we need to.
Yeah.
Can we bring him back?
He's
I want
gotta
to
be
charge
charged.
of threatening.
He's special. He really is. It took a lot of convincing just getting him here.
After this encounter, 6 more charges, including intimidating a participant in a legal warrant and serving a bench warrant for court, among other charges. This is Alan Miller McCaddy, who is facing charges for making a death threat to a judge. Alan McCaddy called Volusia County Dispatch on September 29, 2017, to threaten Circuit Judge Stacia Warren, who ruled against him in a child custody dispute. Alan stated on the call that he had a gun pointed at the judge's building and threatened the judge would die for sabotaging people's cases.
Communications, Warhurst.
Yeah, I want to report a crime that's about to happen.
What do you mean a crime that's about to happen?
Yeah, there's about to be a crime that's going to happen if my kids don't come back to me, you stupid because your stupid judges don't want to bring people to courtrooms. I got a gun pointed at your building.
Sir, what is going on?
Who the you calling, sir, you stupid? Where's your judge warrant at? You going to bring that out in handcuffs and I'm going to execute that son of a right in the street. I'm letting you know I'm going to shoot this. You gonna give me my kids.
Where are you at, sir?
I just told you I'm outside of her building waiting for her to get there in the morning. I'm going to pop tapping that you stupid.
Following this 911 call, analysts in the Volusia County Crime Center determined the audio matched the previous recordings of Alan's voice. The Santa Rosa Sheriff's deputies arrested Alan and booked him into the Milton jail. However, Alan's arbitrary behavior continued towards the judge in his court appearances.
Number one, I need to know whether or not you want to be here during the trial process.
No.
All right, do you want to testify then?
No, I don't. This is all being done unconstitutionally, unrightfully. Y'all are you ain't allowing my evidence. You ain't allowing my people. My daddy owns the building and I look like a fucking idiot, huh? Brought your dress today, you little fucking prick. You want to take my kids from me and act like that? You wearing that? You louder than me? Is that what you're going to do?
No.
Well, then do it again. Come on. Shut the up. I'm trying to think over here.
This disruptive behavior made the judge presiding over the case, Matt Foxman, order him to be removed from the courtroom. The court found Alan guilty of threatening to kill a judge and a pair of dispatchers. Then moving on to the sentence, Alan displayed his usual erratic scene in the court.
Threatened the unborn child of the prosecutor directly in an open
What a
court.
bunch of guys, you stupid piece of
Then also
You threatened my life, you
in the
you
back room.
Suck my
Even while being dragged to the back room, Alan continued with his threats.
No, I'm not standing. Not resisting. I'm not resisting. I'm just not standing up. I'm not standing. I don't have to stand. I hope you fall on that baby's head, you stupid never threaten that bitch. Bring play back the shit, you stupid mother.
The judge tried to continue with the hearing, but Alan didn't relent with his disturbance.
Get out! Get the out of here! Don't you pull on me! Get out! I'll get up, you mother. Don't be around! I'll get here. What you gonna do? You wanna get me? Don't get
The judge sentenced Alan to 20 years in prison and also issued an additional 10-day sentence for Alan's disruptive behavior in court. If you think threatening a judge is the wildest drama that can happen in a courtroom, wait till you see this next criminal who attacked her own attorney.
You went off on your attorney, Taylor. You went crazy on your attorney.
This is Taylor Shebezinas, who is facing charges of murdering her lover, Shad Therian. Shebezinas strangled her lover to death during intercourse after they were both intoxicated with methamphetamine and prescription drugs. Shebezinas continued to have sex with Therian's body before dismembering and removing his internal organs. The Wisconsin woman confessed and admitted to committing the crime during an interrogation with the cops.
I grinded on him, I put the in there. I
You driving on?
Yeah, and listening.
Did you ever put his piece in your vagina? Or you just trying on? So when did you start, cutting up his body?
Like almost right away. I was sucking and cutting at the same time.
Even though Shabasinas didn't seem to be remorseful about her actions, the incident left Therian's family in an emotional state. Therian's uncle, Kelly Therian, had a word of prayer to say to his nephew's murderer in the court.
If you take the path to go get the help, you wouldn't be in this situation right now. None of us would be in this situation. But to take the cowardly path that you did and to make other people suffer because you were suffering is pretty shitty.
During a court hearing on February 14, 2023, Shabasinas suddenly attacked her attorney, Quinn Jolly, right in front of the judge and everyone else present.
Rachel, call.
Going off on your attorney. Going crazy on your attorney. Taylor, can you walk?
Jolly reacted quickly to defend himself from Shabasinas' violent outburst before the sheriff's officer tackled her. Jolly told Judge Walsh he planned to file a motion to be removed from the case.
At this point, I'm going to put a motion in to withdraw from this matter.
On September 26, Judge Walsh sentenced Shabasinas to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. While Shabasinas' reaction might be out of anger in the court, the next convict had his reaction planned before attending the trial.
You just gave it 4 years. Well, guess what? Sir,
This is 46-year-old Ricky Hand, who is currently facing charges for multiple armed robberies. Ricky has been robbing different shops and convenience stores in Ohio, and he managed to escape with cash and some items. However, his attempt to rob John's drive-thru didn't end up as usual. He received an instant retaliation he didn't anticipate as the shop owner shot at him before he managed to escape the scene. After the robbery attempt, the shop owner called the police to inform them of the attempted robbery.
911 emergency. Yeah, this is John's drive-thru, West Main Street. A guy just tried to rob me and I shot him. He ran out the back door. Okay, is he injured? I think I hit him.
Within a couple of days, Ricky visited the hospital to treat himself for the bullet wound from the failed robbery. And it was at the hospital that he got arrested. Ricky Hand admitted to several business break-ins with a knife and a gun. Although the gun was later determined to be fake, the threat to victims was still there.
I did try to rob John's drive-thru. Got shot 3 times. I did the crime, I ain't gonna lie. I just wanted to live.
There have been probably a half a dozen or more robberies. Now you're looking at John's, you're looking at this break into this beauty salon.
That's all I've done.
The beauty salon's a bonus because I didn't even know anything about that, and you told me that.
I'm going to prison for a long time.
Well, you know that.
Ricky, who has been cooperative with the cops during the investigation, took a total turn in reaction after the judge read his sentence.
Did you just give me 40 years? Sir? Yes.
After hearing he would be spending 40 years in jail, Hand reached for a bottle of his own feces and bodily fluids hidden in an arm sling he was wearing and swung it at his lawyer in court. Within seconds of the outburst, courtroom officials were able to subdue Hand.
You can't play Jesus and God? What's wrong with you? Man, 40 is a death sentence, man. Yeah, man.
Ricky faced a new set of charges for his erratic reaction in the courtroom. The charges included harassment with bodily substance, 1 for his attorney and 4 deputies. He was also charged with obstructing official business and retaliation. Not all convicts can control themselves after hearing their punishment, but legal personnel are expected to control their emotions when they are in this position. But that is not the case for this ex-judge. This is Tracy Hunter, who is facing charges for unlawful interest in a public contract. Tracy had used her position as a judge to help her brother, Stephen Hunter, to keep his job. She allegedly gave Stephen, who is a corrections officer, a document he wasn't permitted to have for his use in a disciplinary hearing. As a result of this act, the ex-judge lost her job and her law license and was sentenced to 6 months in jail. Tracy's supporters believe the punishment was too extreme, especially for someone who had a positive impact on society. Through several appeals, Hunter managed to delay her sentencing for over 6 years, and yet again her attorney, David Singleton, requested that the judge delay the sentence.
She's lost peace of mind, not knowing when that day was going to come and she'd have to go to jail. That's a lot for one person to have on her shoulders.
Judge Patrick Dinkelacker heard the lawyer's request while everyone anxiously awaited the judge's decision. Judge Patrick read out the sentence that will soon spark unexpected reactions in the courtroom.
The attempt was to intimidate me in any way. That has flat out failed, okay? I will never, ever, ever bow to that type of pressure, veiled threats, vicious comments, lies about me or anything else. Number one, you pay the cost of these proceedings. Number two, you are to not violate any laws. And number three, you are to do 6 months in the Hamilton County Justice Center, credit 1 day. Mr. or Ms. Deputy can take her away.
Tracy's supporters burst out in rage, and some even made attempts to approach before the deputies stopped them. The deputies tried to take Hunter away, but she seemed to resist while her supporters shouted, "No justice," from the gallery. Disregarding the outrage from Hunter's supporters, the ex-judge was dragged out of the court to begin her 6 months at Hamilton Justice Center, but she only served under 3 months. This is due to her participation in a court-authorized work detail.
While shouts of "no justice" are heard from the gallery, she's literally dragged out of the courtroom.
Tracy Hunter needed a crowd to cause an uproar. This next criminal set the court on fire with his closing statement.
I did kill Kenyatta Barron. If you think I'm here to play around with y'all, God on that.
This is 29-year-old Ronnie O'Neill, who is currently facing charges for murdering his ex-girlfriend. On March 28, 2019, Ronnie gruesomely murdered the mother of his 2 children, Kenyatta Barron, and hacked their 9-year-old daughter, Ron Nevaeh, with an axe. He also stabbed their 8-year-old boy, who barely survived the attack and lived to testify against his father. During this incident, Kenyatta managed to dial 911 to report to the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. During the call, Ronnie's voice could be heard in the background. About 8 minutes after the 911 call, the sheriff's office got another call from Ronnie claiming Kenyatta had attempted to kill him, and he killed her in self-defense.
Hey, I just been attacked by some white demons inside Kiki. Kiki, her name is Kiki, and she tried to kill me.
Ronnie gave his address to the cops, who arrived at the scene and found Kenyatta's lifeless body in the yard.
Deputies also tell us they found a man named Ronnie O'Neill III inside the home smelling like gasoline. They had to use a taser to take him down.
During the court trial, O'Neill spoke to the jury in anger and yelled as he spoke to them.
He talked about Mr. Khalil Brown, my neighbor who stayed across the street. But if Mr. Khalil Brown was a help to them proving me guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, they would have called Mr. Khalil Brown. But I called Mr. Khalil Brown to be a witness for me. And I didn't ask him to lie about one thing that he saw that night. I asked him to tell the jury exactly what he saw that night. And you have to ask yourself why that is. Because he's playing a fraudulent damn recording of me beating Kenyatta Barron 15 damn times when that did not happen. And like I told you earlier, you will know the truth, whether in this trial or the next one. Better believe it.
O'Neill decided to represent himself throughout the trial and even argued against his own son, who claimed his father stabbed him and tried to burn him.
I just saw my dad holding a shotgun and my mom, and mom screaming at him.
Did he do something to your sister?
Yes, he hit her with an axe. And then he went in the garage, I followed him. He put me on the ground, and then he had his foot on top. I was laying on my stomach, he had his foot on top of me, and he was holding me down, and he was lighting a match.
Mr. O'Neill, any questions?
How you doing, Ronnie?
Good.
It's good to see you, man.
Good to see you too.
Did I hurt you that night of this incident?
Yes.
I did. And how did I hurt you?
You stabbed me.
Judge Michelle Cisco said she would be haunted for the rest of her life by the evidence in the double murder case.
19 years I've been at this job. I've seen human beings killed at the hands of others in every way imaginable. You name it, I've seen it. This is the worst case I have ever seen. For the rest of my life, I'll be haunted by what I saw as far as the evidence.
She sentenced Ronnie to 3 life imprisonment with no possibility of parole.
As count 1, Mr. O'Neill, I will adjudicate you guilty, sentence you to life in prison with a minimum mandatory of life in prison without the possibility of parole.
After the sentence, Ronnie gave his closing arguments, which later turned into a courtroom outburst.
I did kill Kenyatta Barron.